So, have you ever done this? You ask an AI for a project plan, and what you get back is, well, so generic, it's basically useless, right? It's just a list of vague tasks that have no real connection to what you're actually trying to do. It's super frustrating, but we're going to fix that today. I'm going to show you exactly how to turn those vague outputs into valuable, actionable plans. So, what's the secret to getting a truly useful project timeline from an AI? Well, it's not some magic prompt or a secret hack. It's actually much simpler. It is all about giving it the right context. Okay, just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got this super vague request. You're going to get a generic, useless plan from that. But on the right, you give it specifics, you give it context, and suddenly you get a smart, relevant draft to work with. It's the same AI, but the output is worlds apart, all because we changed how we asked. So, what do we even mean by context? Well, think of it like this. You're giving the AI a quick, focused snapshot of your project. It's all that essential background info that helps it understand your specific goals and your constraints, so it's not just taking a wild guess. To be really effective, your context needs to cover these 5 key things. What is the project exactly? Who is it for? What's the actual goal we're trying to hit? How long do we have? And are there any big constraints, like budget or team size, that it needs to know about? Answering these questions for the AI is what turns a fuzzy idea into a solid brief. But a word of warning. Not all context is good context. You want to avoid overloading the AI with tons of company history or details that just don't matter. And you've got to watch out for those vague buzzwords. Instead of saying something like workflow transformation, be specific. We're rolling out a new ticketing tool. And most important, be super clear about what the finish line looks like. The AI has to know what success is. All right, so we've got context down. Now let's really level up. We're going to move on to this really powerful technique called progressive prompting. This is how you go from just a basic plan to a detailed, actionable timeline, and you stay in the driver's seat the entire time. The main idea here is actually brilliantly simple. Instead of asking for the whole 6-week plan in one shot, which, let's be honest, usually gives you something rushed and vague, you guide the AI. You build the plan piece by piece, layer by layer. That way, you ensure the quality is there at every single step. And this whole technique breaks down into a really simple, repeatable 3-step process. It's easy to remember. First, you ask for the big picture, just the high-level phases. Then you zoom in on one of those phases and ask for the detailed tasks. And finally, you add that practical layer of how long each thing is going to take. Let's see how this actually works. For step 1, we start broad. We're just asking for the main project phases for our 6-week project. And notice how we specifically say, keep it at a high level. We're telling it to start with the big picture, on purpose. And boom, look at what you get. The AI gives you this solid, logical structure. This isn't the final plan, not by a long shot, but it's the backbone. Now we have a framework we can look at and say, yep, that makes sense, before we dive into the weeds. Okay, now for step 2. We pick one of those phases, let's say design and prototyping, and we ask the AI to break it down. We're drilling down now, getting those more granular, actionable steps for just that one piece of the project. And finally, step 3 is where we get practical. We ask for estimated durations for those specific tasks we just generated. And now, this is starting to look like a real project plan, right? With actual tasks and timelines that you can put on a calendar. Okay, but let's be real, no project plan ever survives contact with reality, right? Deadlines shift, people get pulled onto other things, priorities change. So what happens when your perfectly crafted plan suddenly needs to change? Well, the good news is your AI can help with that too. This is so important. You have to think of your timeline as a dynamic whiteboard, something you can erase and redraw, not a PDF that's set in stone. Your AI isn't just a tool for creating that first draft. It's an incredibly powerful partner for revising and adapting the plan as things inevitably change. So this table kind of breaks down the 4 big reasons your timeline might need to change. Maybe the deadline gets moved up, or you have fewer people, or priorities shift, or, a new requirement pops up out of nowhere. For each one, you can prompt the AI with specific instructions to adjust the plan the right way. So when you need to change things up, here's your game plan. First, always reference the plan you want it to change. Then, be crystal clear about the specific change you need. This next one is crucial. Protect your non-negotiables. Tell the AI what has to stay. And finally, don't just say, make it faster. Be precise about what to cut or combine or reorder. And here's a perfect example of thought. This prompt works so well because it's super clear about the new deadline, 2 weeks instead of 3, but it also protects the most critical parts by telling the AI to keep the core training and compliance steps. See, it gives the AI clear guardrails to work within. We've covered a lot of techniques, but you know what? It all really comes down to a simple but pretty powerful shift in how you think about AI. It's not a magic box you get answers from. It's a collaborator. And this right here, this quote from the source material absolutely nails it. You need to treat your AI like a very capable, super fast, but very junior teammate. It needs clear direction, it needs context, and it needs guidance from you to do its best work. You're the project lead here. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Progressive prompting, this whole technique, it's not about writing one single perfect prompt. The real magic comes from the sequence, starting broad, then drilling down, and then refining. The order of your conversation is just as important as the words you use. So at the end of the day, AI is an incredibly powerful teammate for planning and managing projects. I mean, it can draft, it can iterate, and it can revise way faster than any human ever could. But just like any teammate, it needs a leader. Your job is to provide the context, set the direction, and lead the conversation. By shifting your whole approach from just asking for answers to actively guiding the process, you unlock a completely new level of productivity. You go from getting those generic templates to actually co-creating detailed, actionable plans. So the real question is, what will you build with your new teammate?